Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome to another real-time use case scenario video. So in this video, we are going to learn how to set up self-hosted Linux Docker build agent in Azure DevOps. So before we get into a topic, let's try to understand what are the build agents provided by Microsoft Azure DevOps, isn't it? So Microsoft Azure provides two set of build agents. You can go with Microsoft hosted agents, and then you can actually go with self-hosted agent. Microsoft hosted agents are nothing but agents available in Azure cloud. Okay, so for example, if I take you to Azure DevOps, if I go to project settings, if I go to agent pools, click on Azure pipeline, so you can see this one, right? So these are all called, I know I have only one agent. So typically, if you have, Azure DevOps free tier account, they actually provide one agent free for you, isn't it? So this agent is actually hosted in Azure cloud. So this is called Microsoft hosted agent. So typically, we don't have to worry about that, right? Because this particular VM is completely managed by Microsoft. We don't typically manage them, isn't it? They're all like freely available for us. So that is like one type of agent. The second type of agent is called self-hosted agent. So that is actually nothing but if you don't want to use Microsoft hosted agent, you wanted to manage virtual machine all by yourself, then you can actually go ahead and then create custom agent, right? So you can set up a VM. It could be on Azure cloud, or you can also set up on premises. In fact, you can also use your local machine as well if you want to configure that VM or that machine as a self-hosted agent, right? You don't want Microsoft to manage. If you want to manage all by yourself, you can go for self-hosted agent where you have more control over your build agent configuration and whatnot, right? So if you wanted to know how to configure self-hosted agent on a VM, I actually have separate article / video. So feel free to actually go through it. So this particular article talks about how you can configure self-hosted agent on a Linux virtual machine. Okay. But the scope of this particular video is we are going to talk about how we can configure self-hosted agent running inside a Docker container. So that is what we are going to learn, how to actually configure that. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to set up a Linux virtual machine that is going to act as a Docker host. That is where we are going to run our build agents as Docker containers. Okay. So of course you can also configure your Windows machine as well, but I'm not going to do that. The scope of this particular video is how we can configure self-hosted Docker agent running inside a Linux machine. Okay, so that is what we are actually going to do. Awesome. So let's get started, right? So before we actually go through it, obviously we need to have Microsoft account set up, and then we also need to have active Azure account and then subscription setup. So this is my Azure cloud account. Okay, and then we also need to have virtual machine configured. I know in the article I mentioned that 20.04, but I would prefer Ubuntu 22.04. So we are going to configure that real quick. And then we also need to create personal access token. So using this token, we are going to connect from our Linux virtual machine into Azure DevOps. Okay, and then we also need to have a Docker file created as well. So since we are going to run our build agent as a Docker Docker container, so if you see here, we need to create the Docker file and then create a Docker container, right? So this is the Docker file. So I have referred this particular Docker file from Microsoft website. So I also provided the link in the bottom of my, that is over here. So this talks about how you can configure self-hosted agent in Docker. Okay, so feel free to refer this particular article. All right, and then let me go back to the prerequisite. So yeah, so that is pretty much over there, right? Okay, so how are we going to actually approach this particular lab exercise? So we are going to configure self-hosted Docker build agent. So we need to first create a virtual machine in Azure cloud, and then we are going to install Docker in it because we need to build a Docker image and run Docker container in it. And then we are going to download this particular repository, right? So this is where we have our Dockerfile, everything created. So we are going to download that on that machine. And then we need to create a personal access token so that we would be able to authenticate with Azure DevOps. And then after that, we are just going to go ahead and then, run the build. And then we also need to configure agent pool as well. Okay. So yeah, so everything we're going to do one by one, guys. All right. So before we get started, why don't we just go ahead and then create a VM? If you already have VM, you can get started. But again, I'm just going to create a brand new VM right now. Okay, let me create a new VM. So let's get started here. So I know my instruction says that 20.04, but I would prefer to use latest Ubuntu image. Okay, rest everything I'm going to leave it as it is. It is actually good to have a little bit of better computing power. So this is fine, I guess. So I'm going to go with that. Perfect. And then I'm actually going to use one of my existing key. Okay, so I'm going to use my existing key. I have already set up SSH keys. So I'm going to use my existing SSH keys. But if you wanted to create new key, you can very well do that. And then let me look at the networking. So yes, we don't need to open any additional port number, except port number 22. Using that, we are going to SSH into it. And then let me actually select this option in case if I wanted to delete this VM and I would like to delete the public IP and then other associated items. Monitoring, I don't want to enable this boot diagnostics. That's fine. So I think that's pretty much over there. Okay, so let's click on review and create. While it is coming up, guys, this is actually my website, coachdevops.com. I would highly encourage you all to subscribe to my channel as well. If you have not done, I would highly appreciate that. All right, so great. So the VM is launched. Let's go to resource and let's try to connect to our VM. So click on connect, and we are going to use this way. And of course, we are going to connect from macOS. That's what I actually use. Okay, perfect. And it is actually asking for a key name. Okay, so this is the key name which I have downloaded earlier. So I'm going to use that. Perfect. So I have already changed, I already performed the change mod command. Okay, so I'm good. I'm going to skip that. But in case if you're doing for the first time, you can actually copy and paste this command. And anyway, so now we are going to connect to our VM which we just provisioned. Okay, so like I said, this VM is going to act as a Docker host, right, or Linux host to run our Docker containers, which would be running inside our, which would be using in our Azure DevOps pipeline. Okay, so perfect, right? So I think we are good. So I will come back to the VM in a minute, but before that, let's get back to the instructions, right? So I have documented all the steps, everything one by one, guys. So let's quickly go through it, right? So let's actually go ahead and then create something called agent pool, right? Okay, so since we are going to create a custom agent, we need to go ahead and then create an agent pool. So let me go here. Okay, I already have an agent pool created, but you know what? Let me actually do one thing. Let me just clean that up. I want to create a new agent pool, not a big deal. So click on add pool and we are going to select self-hosted and then let's give some name. I want to give like my agent pool. Okay, and then make sure that you grant access permission to all pipelines, right? Make sure you select this. Perfect. Wonderful. So we just created our agent pool. So please understand, guys, this Azure pipeline. So this is where the Microsoft hosted agents are available. But like I said, we are going to go with a custom build agent or self-hosted. So that's the reason why I have created a separate agent pool. So don't worry about that. I know I gave exactly the same name. So that's the reason why you see it. But if you are creating for the first time, you don't see anything over there. Perfect. Okay. Very good. So we are good with that, right? So now let's actually move forward with the next step. Okay. So now we are going to log into our Azure VM. I know I'm already connected to my VM, and then we need to go ahead and then install all the software. And not all the software, we just need to install Docker, to be honest with you. So let me just perform sudo apt update, and then let's also go ahead and then install Docker. So again, I'm just kind of executing two commands at once. Perfect. So this will take some time to set up Docker. All right. So Docker got installed. Let's quickly go ahead and then check the version. Perfect. And then let's also go ahead and then add current user to the Docker group, because we are going to perform builds, right? Docker build. So you need to add the current user, which is nothing but Azure user, to the Docker group. Perfect. So far so good. And then we are going to download the Docker file. So like I said, I have already created a repository. Again, this is publicly available. Anyone can access the repository. This is a public repository. So if you see here, we have a Docker file. So like I said, I have referred the Docker file available from Microsoft website. I just made a few changes. In fact, I just added Maven here as part of the Docker container. I would like to install Maven because I'm going to perform Java build using Maven. So that's the reason why I wanted Maven to be installed inside the Docker container. Okay. And then you can refer the rest. Everything is pretty straightforward, right? And then we have a script here. Okay. So that script is actually nothing but this script, right? So this is definitely needed. So this is the one which is actually going to configure the build agent, right? You can actually see here. Look at here. It's going to download the zip file. It's going to do everything inside the Docker container. So we don't have to worry about anything. Okay. So perfect, right? So why don't we go ahead and then download that code on this particular VM. So let me go ahead and then perform git clone. Like I said, this is a public repository, so it is available for you all. So let me go inside that folder. Okay. So let's just make sure that we have the two files, the Docker file as well as this particular script. Wonderful. So now we have everything good. I think now we can go ahead and then perform Docker build. So I'm going to actually build a Docker image using this command. So you can see here, I would like to tag, again, you can give any name, but I would like to tag this as this name, right? And I'm referring the Docker file. I'm already on the current directory. So let's go ahead and then perform. So if you see here, while it is running, right? So we are actually using Ubuntu as a base image because this is a Docker agent. This is a Docker container like based on Ubuntu, right? So it's a Linux Docker container. So that's the reason why we are actually having this as a base image. But if you actually refer Microsoft website, let me quickly show you. If you wanted to run any kind of other Linux based agent, so for example, let me see if I can show you, right? If you want to run Alpine, you can also have a separate Docker file, and then you can run your Docker container as Alpine Docker based container, right? If you want, you can also do that as well. All right. So let's see right now. Okay, so the Docker image is almost done there. So let's quickly go ahead and then verify that. There you go. So 8 seconds ago, we just created this Docker image. Perfect. All right. So it is up to you, right? If you wanted to upload this Docker image into, let's say, ACR or any kind of a container registry, feel free to do that. Not a problem. Okay. But again, this is a very simple demonstration. I just wanted to set up a Docker agent on this Linux machine. Okay, perfect. So now I think we have the Docker image created. Now I think we can go ahead and run Docker container in it. So basically what we are actually going to do is, obviously, right, if you actually see this command, we are going to perform Docker run command. So obviously we need to point into our Azure DevOps organization. And then we also need to have token creator. So we're going to do that right now. And then what is our agent pool? And then what is our agent name? Okay, and the name of the agent and whatnot. Okay, and then this is our Docker image. Okay, all right. So before that, let's go ahead and then create a token. So let me go into my Azure DevOps. Before that, right, let's actually go back to the prerequisite here. You can also click on this particular link. So what kind of personal access token you will have to actually create, right? So if you see here, you need to create a token with this particular scope. Okay. So let me see what I can do here, right? Let's see. Let's go to user settings, go to personal access token. All right. I know I already have some tokens created, but let me quickly show you how we can create a new token. So go here and then give some name. So I want to give something like my custom Docker agent token. And of course, it is up to you how when you want to expire. And I would not recommend to give full access, frankly speaking. But let's say that you are planning to perform build or whatever it is, and build and deploy. So let me see here, right? Under agent pool, I think this is pretty much good, right? Look at that, read and manage. Okay, and then click on create. Okay, so now my token got created. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to store it in a place. Okay, and of course, since I'm sharing my screen, eventually I will be deleting the token. Okay, that's my token right there. Okay, close. Okay, good. So we have our token created. Perfect. Let me go back to the instructions now. All we have to do is go ahead and then perform this run command. Okay, so here's the thing. I want to first copy until here. Okay, and it is asking for DevOps settings, including the organization name. So that is the one. I'm going to go ahead and then provide that. Okay, and then we are good with that. And then this particular command. Okay, so that's it, right? Oh, okay, just give me a minute, guys. Okay, I actually want to run it in a dash mode as well. So let me just do one thing. Let me also go ahead and then say -d here. Okay, Control E. Okay, so let's perform this particular command. So token, we need to go ahead and then paste the token. So that's the token right there. Perfect. And then I think rest everything is pretty straightforward. So agent pool and everything, right? So I would like to name my agent name as this. Okay, that's it. Let's copy it. Okay, enter. Wow, there you go. I don't see any error. I understand, guys, this is like a very big command, but again, right, let me just clarify. So we are running a Docker run command, and then this is like a variable, right? We are passing these are all variable, like URL, token, pool name, right? And then the agent name, and then this is the name of the container name, and then of course this is our image name. Perfect. So now it is actually running. So how do you see whether the container is running or not? Let's go ahead and then run the ps command. Perfect. So you can see here, this is our container, which is actually up and running. So how do you know that Azure DevOps have detected this particular agent already, right? So what you can actually do is you can go into Azure DevOps, okay? And then go to project settings, agent pools, here, agents. There you go. Do you see that now? So we are able to see that, and if you see that this is the name of the agent what we actually gave in that command, isn't it? So perfect, right? So that's it. Actually, our agent is actually up and running. So here's the deal. I know this is what do you call a Docker based agent, right? So you can run as many agents you want, isn't it? Do you all agree? For example, let's say that I wanted to run one more agent. Absolutely, that's not a problem at all. So for example, let me see if I can show you. You can use everything else is the same. Probably you can say in the agent name, you can probably say 2, okay? And then let's see. And then maybe over here, you can also say 2 as well, and then say enter. Wow. So now if I go and see, there you go. Do you all see right now, guys? I actually see 2 containers running, isn't it? So same image, but 2 containers, correct? So if I go back here, I know it takes few seconds for the agent to show up. It takes few seconds. I know it shows offline, but at any time you're going to see this online as well. Maybe if I refresh, it takes few seconds. Wow. You see right now, guys. So we have 2 agents actually available. Wonderful, right? So now that's it, right? Now all we have to do is go ahead and then run some pipeline. Okay. So in fact, if I go back to the repo, I actually have a Java, repo configured, right? So let's try to configure a pipeline. I can actually show you both the options, right? I can show you, both classic as well as AML pipeline. So let's start with the classic pipeline, which is easy to do, but I don't recommend though. So let's say that you're creating a pipeline, like I said, classic pipeline. So I want to use the main branch. So this is the repo. Click on continue. And let's see, Maven, apply. So that's it, right? Okay. And then the very important thing is agent. Okay. So there you go. You see here. So the agent pool, obviously, right? You're going to select the custom agent pool what we have created. Just click on that. That's it. You don't have to provide, which agent out of those 2 available, right? It would automatically pick up either one. Okay. So that's it. And then over here, I know this is a Java based project, right? So let's see if we can link the pom.xml file. So it's a very simple Java project. There's nothing fancy about it. That's it. Package is fine. I think that's it over there. Again, I don't want to do anything. It's a war file. You can leave it like that if you want. Perfect. Maybe I'll just do install. Doesn't matter, but yeah. Okay. So that's it, right? Okay, task, I see something red. Let me see. Okay. Oh, no. It should be agent pool, right? Yeah, that's it. Okay, this is important. That's it, right? So let's click on save and queue. Save and run. So now, there you go, guys. Look at here. So it says that it is going to use from this pool, right? And then it's gonna go ahead and then there you go. Look at that. It actually picked up the one of the agents. Wow. So you can see right now the build is done. So if I go back to the project settings, agent pool, click on this one and then jobs, you can see just now that this job finished, isn't it? And you can see that which agent actually ran the job, right? I know we have 2, but it picked up on this particular agent, right? So similarly, if you wanted to create AML pipeline, right? So how do you do that? Again, I already provided a sample code over here. It's very simple. Again, like I said, it's a Java project. So let's go back to the pipeline here. Let's create a new pipeline. Okay. So I'm going to go with, let's say, Azure Repos. And then this is where the Java project is there. Okay, so if you wanted to create a new pipeline, you can do that, but I already have a pipeline created. I'm going to go with the existing. There you go. So this is the pipeline, isn't it? But the most important thing is you need to just specify like this, right? Just say pool and then what is the agent pool name. That's it. You don't have to worry about, specifying, the agent name or anything like that. That's it. Okay. And then click on run. So right now the build is running. Let me do one thing. Let me also go back to my classic pipeline, which we ran a few minutes ago. Let me also run this as well. Okay. So I'm actually running two jobs, isn't it? So let's see what this does. Since we have two agents, again, it depends on which one it is going to assign the job to. Perfect. There you go, guys. So this is our AML build, right? You can see that that is also done. Perfect. And this is our classic pipeline, isn't it? That's our classic pipeline. So that is also running right now. That is also done. Okay. And if I go back to my agents, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? It would pick up to run on any one of the agents. And you can see right now, it looks like you did not run anything on that. But again, it's not a problem. It will run. If this is super busy, then it will also pick up on this one. It will also go ahead and then run the job. It doesn't matter, right? So yeah, so that's it, guys. That's how you would configure self-hosted Linux Docker build agent in Azure DevOps pipeline. Thank you for watching this video.